We'll have to do an audio check with the listeners,
Okay.
providing I did the destinations correctly. Some things have changed on my end, Jason.
Okay.
239 of the Radio Impound podcast. It's been a while, Jason, since April.
Yeah, we've been
Been really busy traveling everywhere.
we've been busy. That's putting it lightly.
And I'm sure you'll catch me up to date on all the RC excitement that happened between now and then. And we've also, in that time period, lost Ernie Prevetti, which that hit me pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about it quite a bit on the chat, between me, you, and Kirby. But I mean, I think he was in a little bit of tough shape there for a while. I hadn't seen him for quite a while either. But yeah, it was interesting that he was. It was just really interesting that they were in Florida now, and Ernie lived in Florida. For so many years he was New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was interesting that he came to Florida to begin with, and then, I probably only saw him in Florida a handful of times, but just in general, I think uh, he was a fun guy to talk to. I think was what I was kind of stuck out to me is it was fun to see him because he was always kind of like joking with you, or
Yeah.
it was kind of always a joking kind of thing. And I think my any bonding moments I really had with him were probably over basketball stuff. Went to one Laker game with him in LA when
Oh,
he
you
was
did?
when he was living in LA. I went to
Right.
a Laker game with him. So that was kind of my bonding moments with Ernie. Was really never RC. It was really about other things, and it's kind of interesting because he kind of, I guess, in a way, kind of took a liking to me over some of that. Also, just some of the joint interest with basketball, and of course the Jordan stuff.
Oh, yep. And you recently sent him a photo that he's never seen before
Yeah,
of Jordan right next to him at the. You can see Ernie clearly. It's in his profile pic. So
yeah, it was obviously the last profile pic he used. I just out of nowhere, I was watching a game on YouTube, and I just happened to look up. It was kind of like on in the background, and I think the ball had went out of bounds or something, and Jordan went over to sideline by the scorers table, and I look up, and it's Ernie in the background, kind of. I don't know. He said he was kind of talking to MJ there. Um, I'm not
well,
a
he might
hundred.
have been saying something to him. I mean, he was
Yeah,
close enough. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. He was close
Yeah.
enough to be saying something to him, and then I believe sitting next to Ernie was John Thawley, right?
Correct.
I never picked up on that right away, even though I have seen him and I do know who he was or
Yeah.
is. But um, I think maybe it was you or someone that knew that right away when I sent the photo. But yeah, very cool photo. I mean, that was just one of the many, I think, many games he attended in those days. Um, kind of in one of the golden eras, I guess, of the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You
just
know,
the fact that Ernie never saw that photo, like, well, I mean, obviously you took it off the game, but
yeah,
never even seeing that was pretty cool.
yeah. Probably when you went to the game live, obviously you're not going home and trying to watch the game.
Right.
Unless you recorded it with back then your VCR, you would have recorded it with, and then went back and like watched the game. But yeah, it was funny that he was there, and yeah, he told me many stories about being at games in those days, the '90s,
Mm-hmm.
in the '90s, and of course, he would go to the United Center and Chicago Stadium quite a bit. I don't know what kind of flight that was from New Jersey or New York to Chicago. Probably not that long. Probably an hour and a half, maybe something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah, in that ballpark.
he could probably jet over there. Um, Maybe even taxi to the game. I don't know, or stay in one of those local hotels, and depends how long you're going to be there. So
Hmm.
yeah, he would do that, I think, and I mean, he was at a ton of games. And then when he went to LA or lived in California, he went to a ton of Laker games.
Yeah, he used to get
Um,
me stuff from the Staples Center and send it to me.
yeah, I mean, that was really kind of fun. The time I went to the game with him, we went to the lounge. They had a kind of one of those high class lounges that you could only go in if you had season tickets or
Right.
whatever. And
Yep.
so he brought us in there. I remember the guy from Saved by the Bell was in there. Um,
Hmm.
the Slater from Saved by the Bell was in there. And then I remember Jerry Buss had his own room that he was just in that bar, but he had like his own like office room kind of thing where he was just hanging out in there. So yeah, it was a cool experience. I don't remember which game that was because I went to about 3 or 4 Laker games when I lived out there. I know I went to 1 or 2 against the Blazers, and one was the Raptors with Vince Carter. I'm not sure which one I went to with Ernie, but yeah, it was neat.
Hmm. Yeah. He used to always rib me about the Lakers back in the Trinity days when I was there. So
Yeah.
about Kobe, because Kobe and Jordan, they were always comparing them. So
Hmm.
he'd walk by and he'd be like, Kobe throwing up those bricks still. Gotti.
Yep.
He'll never beat Michael Jordan. Gotti.
Yeah, which he didn't, but he was in different eras though. So,
Yeah.
um, and when he moved there, I'm sure he was one of the bigger Kobe fans when he moved there. I think he liked Shaq too. I think Shaq
Yeah,
was
he did.
he loved that personality of Shaq, which I think is
Absolutely.
what everyone kind of liked. But
Yep.
yeah, he liked his sports, and that's kind of where I had bonding with him at the races. I think I missed a little bit of the generation when he came to the events a lot more. I think in the 80s he was probably at the events more, and then in the 90s probably had different um, motor builders there at the time, and
Yeah.
he would be there for maybe like the Worlds or Roar Nationals occasionally. I remember him being in Japan the first time I went to the Worlds there. I remember him being um, at the Worlds in Pomona. That was a famous one where him and uh, Pops were and Novak there cheering when Brian won because that was
Yeah.
the three. It was Losi for the cars, Trinity for the power, Novak.
Losey's
Um,
first title.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was a big deal. And I remember they kind of had like a little tent there on the edge of the track, and they were just like that picture you have in the background. That's kind of how Ernie was when Kinwald crossed the line. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I saw that in video and photos because I was actually in that race. So I was standing next to Kinwald when it all happened racing. But yeah, uh, that was a big thing. Really cool that happened for them at that track at that time. And Kinwald delivered. I mean, as much as back then they used to advertise. Obviously, Trinity was really famous for their advertisements, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of always being on top of that, especially with Kinwald and the Dirtnator and everything that he had going on then. But then to get him deliver on the Worlds, that was a there at Losie's track at the ranch. That was big. And then I remember going to Japan for the touring car worlds when this was in 2000, which is just nuts that it's 22 years ago. But I went to that as a racer, and I remember I had probably my best run of the weekend, and it was like a practice run. Like during the control practices are kind of run like qualifiers. And I don't know what I did, but I remember coming off the track and Ernie was just all over, like talking to me about how great my stuff looked. And it's like, man, you're fast out there. He showed me the lap times on a stopwatch. And I'm just like, damn, I'm like Joel Johnson here for like 10 minutes.
Right.
I definitely didn't necessarily back that up on the track, but I had a good practice run, I guess. I got Ernie's attention for one run.
Yeah. Well, the way I got Ernie's attention in 1991 at the Mega Track when I saw him standing there near turn 2. And when I saw him leaning over the railing a little bit, had his arm, I crashed a car right there, right in front of him.
Oh,
I got nervous. Ernie was watching.
Drove it right in there, huh?
Yeah, that's the first time I met Ernie. 1991 Mega Track Sportsman Cup race.
And you went over and said, "Hey, man, sorry, I wrecked my car right into you."
Dude. And I was just in practice, though. So I was practicing, and him and Joel, of all, so you got Ernie and Joel standing there. And when I saw that in the corner of my eye, bam!
You just wadded it right up in front of him.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean,
This guy's right. Paul's saying 91. You guys are old. It's so true. And that's the
It
thing.
is.
Like, I noticed like my memory's starting to fade from some of this stuff. I made a post about Ernie and you're thinking back on this stuff and, you're misremembering a lot of it. And you're like, it gets kind of scary. So I try to relive those moments so I don't forget them. But, because man, like you said, 20 some years ago.
Yeah, that was
Time's
just the
flying.
2000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean it's been really tough for us that were at Trinity during that time, 97 through 2004 for me. But we lost early on. We lost Billy Martini, Tony P, and now Ernie. So
yeah,
and at the time when I was there, those were the top 3 guys. And Billy we lost really young. I mean, he was only 58.
yeah.
And so
Yeah, I mean, we were talking, it was what did we decide was, I mean, and obviously we're just guessing, but the peak era we were saying like was like 95 to like '02. You were thinking, well, we had some kind of window.
It was like 95 through '02, '03, somewhere right in there.
That was what we were thinking was like peak. I mean, it was always good, but
right. But man, the time that we were there, me and Kirby, it was just that was really, really the peak.
Juggernaut City.
And we can't take any credit for that, but that was the peak, man.
You were there, man.
Yeah, it was a great time, and I was really close to all those guys, so it was tough to hear the news. I mean,
you had mentioned some stories where Ernie coming to tell you to sell something and get like that. What was
stop the nonsense.
Yeah, what was his saying to you?
Well, early on when I was in sales, it would be Gotti, sell something. I'm trying to run a business here. But the other one was like, stop the nonsense. Who just walked past you and he would say, STN Gotti. He'd walk past Kirby be on doing something with the motors. STN. God, you guys, I'm trying to run a business here. Like just out of the blue. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just funny like that. Or he just always get on me about the Lakers and Kobe. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that was and I was real close to Billy Martini, so that was really a big shocker to me too. So it's been pretty tough for me here. I mean, when Billy passed away, I reached out to Ernie, and and then when Tony P, of course, I reached out, and Ernie messaged me back, and he said that this is one of the toughest moments in his life
Hmm.
when he lost Tony P, of course, his best friend,
Yeah.
lost Billy, and and a few months later, then we lose Ernie. So it's been pretty rough.
One of the things that I kind of, stood out to me was I remember us talking that I always heard about Tony P, but I only saw him one time. He was, we were at a race in Orlando, and I saw Ernie, and I'm thinking, who's this guy with Ernie? And kind of finally, I like put two and two together, and I'm like, whoa, this is like, Tony P. Like
Yeah.
this is, and I think I don't remember if I told you guys about it, and you're just, you're like, you'd never seen him before. I'm like, no, never seen him before.
Yeah, I guess I figured you just knew everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I never had
I
met
don't
him.
think
Like,
Tony he rarely went to any races.
yeah,
You would see him at the Chicago Hobby Show,
hmm
but he rarely went anywhere.
that's the only place I probably would have saw him. Would have been Hobby
Chicago,
Show.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was always there.
we got Kyle Chasen checking in. We got Will Britton checking in. Will, I just saw Will a couple weeks ago at our race in Omaha. We had a good race there. Great turnout. Will got the job done winning. He won Stadium Truck there.
Okay,
holding it down for the JC and the AE team and Stadium Truck.
and the RIP team.
And the RIP team, of course.
It's always representing. Then we
I
have
ran his
Nomad.
car.
Huh?
I ran his car in 2 qualifiers.
You did?
Yeah, they wanted me to try some tires, and they signed me up for the second round of 40 plus and the third round. I got no practice. I didn't even get to run the first round of qualifying.
Practice.
I didn't even get to run the first round of qualifying. They threw me right in the second round and the third.
Right into the fire you went.
Yeah. And I do say his car worked extremely well. I think I ran a little better than I thought I would, honestly. Considering I'd never driven on that track at all. And then, of course, not run that weekend. So, yeah, I was a little surprised.
Yeah. We got Nomad Nightwalker checking in from our YouTube channel, which we rarely get anybody on that
That's
YouTube
cool.
channel. Yeah. He's saying, "Rip Ernie." I hope Ernie and Brian, of course, are up there shining down on us RC fans to continue the RC legacy that they left us with. Absolutely.
Brian's wrenching.
Brian's wrenching. Now Ernie's up there.
Giving him some horsepower.
Right. Yeah. So tough. I mean, losing Kinwald, and it's unreal to me. But
Unreal. Jim Hughes. One of the biggest Kinwald fans, one of friends of Kinwald, checking in, saying that he'd been wrenching. Yeah, we don't know what he's wrenching on, but it's going to be dialed.
So I posted. I noticed it was getting a lot of hits. The 23rd. The last time we had Ernie on the show was 2013, and I did the interview with him solo because I guess you weren't around. You were at a race, and Kirby was out somewhere. So, and I've tried getting him on the show after that, and we were planning most recently, but he wasn't feeling well, so I didn't know how serious it was, but. Yeah, so wish we could have got him on, but okay. So we'll dedicate the rest of the show to Ernie and the Trinity gang that's no longer with us. So, all right, Jason. So Uh, April was the last time we did a show. Big gap there, but hey, nothing was lining up with our schedules, but that's life. So, and then I go on vacation.
Yeah, it looks like between then, I want to say that the last time we did one was right before or after the Psycho Nitro blast, because that's just kind of standing out to me.
Yeah, we don't have to go through all the results, but
Yeah, I was just kind of backtracking to see what was.
but man, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't followed anything until I heard about this incident at the Visions race, which it was Mayfield and Ty Tessman going at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it was just Mayfield going at it and Tessman listening. But
Mm-hmm.
so that got me a little bit excited. Remember, I messaged you and I said I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, you were all in after that.
Yeah, right. So I was like, wow, RC's getting a little spicy. I like it. Maybe we got to do a podcast sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, stuff like that gets me excited. But it reminds me of the old days. Like I see people were commenting, "Oh, Mayfield should be suspended or banned," and I'm like, "Are you guys freaking crazy? Like, did you not race in the '80s and '90s? You know, you have any idea what it was like back then? Like, this is nothing." But it's awesome. Like I posted, I'm like, look, guys, Mayfield to me is just so competitive. And it's amazing that he has the fire that he has still after being, all the success that he's had. And I love it. I mean, I didn't see what happened. I just saw the clip that someone sent me. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part about any kind of seeing a highlight or seeing a video or seeing a small portion of a story is there's a lot more to this event than that. And I was kind of checking in, going back to what I was kind of doing is the E Nationals was going on in Pennsylvania, and so that was the Roar E Nationals, and then this Visions event was in Jay, Oklahoma, and everyone has so many uh, things wrong when it comes to talking about all these events or these two events, and that they were on the same weekend and all these different things. People have this wrong because
So what race was scheduled first?
the Roar Nationals.
Really? And
Yeah.
Visions decided to go
Well,
the same weekend?
Well, it's kind of like Visions. The Visions event is kind of like a date that's the same every year.
Oh, okay. All right.
And because they have a lot of things going on out there. It's kind of like having it's like having your county fair or something. Like your fair is like every year. I got something on the microphone. I'm getting off here.
Yeah, I'm losing stuff over here too.
So, so it's kind of like having something in your hometown that happens every year at the same time, and that's how this event is out there at. It's called Mid America Outdoors.
All right, so this is the first year they had RC.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So what it is Brandon from Live RC does. We mentioned that he got the new toter home and the big rig for running the live media out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got that new. So he does a lot of live media for other events besides RC. They started in RC, but because the software, Lifetime, and other things work so well for RC, they've been able to do other events like, they have like UTVs racing out at this Mid America Outdoors. There's UTVs, there's U4 trucks, all these different kind of off-road things. There's motorcycles out there. It's just like a big adult playground, and it's gigantic. It's like 1,000+ acres. And the guy that runs it, or not the guy that runs it, but the guy that owns it, was close with Brandon on doing scoring. They does scoring, live media or live time scoring they use for um, they use the scoring like we use in RC. So he's really familiar with doing scoring for events out at this Mid America place. He knew the owner, and they were close, and they did a lot of the scoring and videos and things that people come out there to see. Because what I noticed is when I went out there was, how like at the RC races, we're on our phones looking for the results that's going on in the race, right?
Hmm.
Well, when you're out there at that event, there's like families on their phones looking like how somebody's doing racing the big cars, right? So they're
Okay.
like doing the same thing, like they could be back in the woods running these cars, and because like the track is like several miles
Hmm.
long, um, so they only come around like where we were for like portions of the lap, but then they go behind and they're like in the woods and come out. So there's video of this everywhere, and then there's scoring. So Brandon was close with the owner there, and I think they had discussed an RC event, and the only option was to run it at that same time because
Gotcha.
that's when their other event is going on. So the idea was, have an RC event. It gives people that maybe have some shared interests between either, off road, UTVs, whatever, uh, and RC. So people that have interests, these shared interests, they're all out there at the same time. And they didn't have an RC track. They built one specially for this race. They built a driver stand specially for this race. They built it it's a little bit on a hillside.
Hmm.
And so constantly um, well, anyway, they had to build this track for the race. The date wasn't adjustable. The date was kind of already set. So they had worked with Roar a little bit, trying to change the date, but they just couldn't all agree on a time because if they would change the E Nationals date, it was like landing on top of something that was regionally important in um, Pennsylvania, Virginia area. So they were kind of concerned about that. So they never could get the dates changed. So they had to have the events on the same weekend. So there's a lot of people that log on and say, "Man, why did they have the event on the same weekend?" Which it does. It's unfortunate, but they
Yeah.
tried to work it out. It just did not work out. The Mid America couldn't move their event because it's the same every year.
I see. I didn't know that.
This Roar Nationals was booked, at the beginning of the year. They put their dates out, and they're very similar, to be honest. True as well. The Roar Nationals events are always fairly close in the calendar, if not exactly the same. So, um, Brandon came to some of the pro drivers and asked them to attend. Ryan was, I believe, the first driver, one of the first or the first driver he asked to attend this event. Originally, it was going to be 25 to 30K for the winner of the pro class.
Okay.
And it wasn't going to be like the winner wasn't going to get the winner was going to get it all. And then it was going to be, second, third, nobody else was going to get um, these type of payouts. But as things moved along, and as a lot of pro drivers committed based off of that, they're like, "Hey, I could win this thing and win 25 or 30,000." Um, and so a lot of drivers committed, but then what they did is, I think after they were receiving some feedback from others and kind of got together, is they decided to change the payout.
Oh,
They decided to give some of the payout to the open class. They decided to kind of break it down a little differently so that it wasn't just one person winning,
wasn't just Mayfield winning.
winner take all.
Right.
Um, and I think at the time, uh, the winner take all thing was more appealing to me, honestly, because I wanted to see somebody in RC with the big check. You've seen other sports and other people hold up these checks. And I've never really seen that moment, um, so to speak. But in the end, the way they worked it out, a lot more people a lot more racers had the opportunity to win some money, which they did. That was kind of, Kirby was busted on me because I kept sending you guys photos of racers holding up these checks they were winning. But that was really the event was set up around winning these bonuses, and um, and it was built for TV. The size of the track was on the smaller side. I know Kirby was joking it was a 12 scale track, but honestly, when you were there, it was a lot bigger than it looked.
Yeah, it probably looked.
But compared to these monster tracks that we race at that are like, 45-second laps, it was
This
a
was
lot
probably
smaller than that.
more competitive then, in a way,
Well, to me,
because
what it was is it was a race built for TV. And um, another part about this is when I decided to go is they made an announcement that uh, they signed a MAV TV contract. So
Mad
this
TV.
MAV MAV,
Oh, gotcha.
and this event is going to be broadcast on MAV TV. I guess they got like a 1 hour special. Um, so I get there. Well, actually, I'm driving from the airport because the day
Wait,
before I flew to St. Louis. Go
yeah.
ahead. What were you
Well,
saying?
so Mav TV? How do I find that? Just is it a streaming service?
I think it's just, it,
Mav
yeah,
TV? Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I'm
I don't know. I never
surprised.
heard of it. So
I've
okay.
seen it a ton.
All right. Well, I'm not into the racing scene, but
Yeah, I mean, they have
anymore.
all kinds of stuff on there. But so I'm thinking, all right, well, I'd like to see this happen. Can one of our guys hold one of these checks and be on TV? That was, that's what I was thinking was going to happen, and I wanted to see anyway, and I wanted to see how it played out. But so I flew into St. Louis the day before. We had a promo that we did there with uh, uh, Bigfoot was doing a car crush at a Harley dealer, so I went there with two of our new bodies. Went there with two new bodies, got a video done with Rebecca and Darren Schnell, and then took off the Friday morning. And on the way from the airport to the track, I had it on my phone and I was watching the very first qualifier. And it was really an impressive. They had a Ken Stout, I think, was the announcer that they brought in, who was a professional announcer from other.
Oh, he was fantastic, dude.
And then Mike Garrison,
Yeah,
those two were together.
him
And
and Mike together, it was just epic.
so I'm
I saw
driving
people
over,
commenting that he should be Live RC should get him for all the big events.
and I'm sure it's,
Probably can't afford it though. It's probably expensive to hire him.
yeah, and I'm sure there's a time you want to mix it up too. You want to have one guy here, one guy there. Um,
I don't know.
but
I'm just
anyway,
talking about for the big races like the
I know,
nationals. That guy was awesome. He made the race feel really important.
and I had a lot of people tell me that they got that same feeling. So when I'm driving from the airport to the track, I'm listening to that on my phone. I'm actually watching it. I'm supposed to be driving, watching the.
So you're driving and watching it.
Yeah, well, actually, I just had it in front of me.
For the record, he wasn't driving. He was in the passenger seat.
Yeah, I was.
In case
Yeah,
anybody's
somebody
listening.
was driving. So, um,
Or do you
so
have a
I got
Tesla?
actually kind of a neat perspective because on my way there, I got to see how it was being shown online.
Oh, Flow
And
Racing app. Will's saying it's on a Flow Racing app. Okay, let me go look that up. Go ahead, sir. Continue.
and then I get there and I get to watch it live. So I got both perspectives. I got sort of the one that was behind the phone or behind the monitor watching, and then I got to be there and watch in person. And it was a smaller track. They did a good job with the races were really really tight, uh, and it made it pretty exciting. And I think for what they were trying to accomplish with the TV uh, coverage, I think that it's going to turn out about as good as you can do. At least that was my impression being there. I think if you had the track as big as normal, it would have got a little too drawn out, or if the races were too long, people would lose interest. So these races qualifying was 30 laps, I believe, and or was it 20? 20 or 30 laps was a qualifier, and
Hmm.
then the actual race was 40 laps. So everything was under
Mm.
15 minutes. It was about 40 laps was about 14 minutes, and I think the others were a little shorter than that. So
I'm
it was set up.
seeing
It was set up for TV, and
I'm
I
seeing
think
Flow. Hey, Will, I'm seeing Flow Sports app. Is that it? Or I'm not seeing Flow Racing. Okay. Continue, sir.
so. I was pretty happy with what I saw out there. The track was really difficult. They brought in Joey the Dirt, Christensen, and Aaron to build the track. They had those guys building the track. They had Brandon and his live RC crew in the trailer. Then Mike Garrison and Ken were the announcers. They had Scotty Ernst was the trackside reporter on the driver's stand. They had Jimmy Babcock in the booth doing the
Oh,
live announcing for the
okay.
racers. So they honestly had the the A team. They really had the A team there in terms of running and kind of building this race. And that was impressive. It's very rare that you see all of them together at one place at one time. And that was really pretty neat to see them all there. And then the racing kind of, especially the A1 with Mayfield and Lutz, that one went to the finish line, a really good race that I think is going to make for a good show. I could see that working out pretty well. And I tried to watch this with the mindset that of how what it's supposed to be. I didn't go there with the mindset of like a Nitro Challenge or a Silver State or one of our events. I went there with the mindset that how is this being filmed? How are the interviews being done? And what is it going to look like if you repackage this as a show? And then we get to A2. Uh, um, and the way that the money worked was, I know earlier we were saying that originally it was promoted as 25 to 30,000 for the winner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, over time they changed that breakdown, so they spread it around a lot more. So there was still a 25 to 30K pot of money, but it was distributed a little bit differently uh, throughout the whole thing. And it made so some open drivers won $1,000 several times, and then the pro class they won. If you won, A main number one was $1,500. A main number two was $1,500. A main number three was $1,500. If you won, the overall was $5,000. And then if there was then there was a bonus if you swept that would bring you to 14,500.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I think Mayfield, especially after the first A main, his mindset was, "Wow, I could win this thing." I won A main number one. I'm starting pretty close to the front in A main number two, and then A main number three. He was starting pretty close to the front. So his mindset, I think, was, "I can win this thing," and it's not unreasonable to think that I could sweep and win the 14-5. Right? That was the
Yeah.
that was the plan,
Right.
because and that was the kind of the spectacle of this race, was that there was this money involved. And I don't think anybody, at least in my opinion, I didn't see a lot of racing that went bad because of the money. I don't think the money, and I've had my fair share of thoughts on this over the years, but watching that particular race, I don't think anybody drove differently because there was money on the line. Because to be honest, when these guys race, there usually is always money on the line.
Yeah, in a
It's just
sense.
it's
Right.
just paid from sponsors, not from the event. So they're used to racing for money, and it didn't necessarily change the way that that happened. But what it did is it made it part of the race, where it was advertised part of the race. So when the racers were running, the announcer like Jimmy Babcock would say, "Hey, this is a $1,500 win. This is $1,000 win." So it became like, instead of that moment with your trophy, the moment became, "Hey, I won $1,000 or I won $1,500, whatever." Um, and I don't think that the drivers, watching the drivers, sure, I think they were excited to win $1,000 or whatever the case may be, but people just like winning. And I didn't think that they were any more excited about it having money attached to it than just winning. Like to me, like winning's the best, right? Like it's so much fun to win something. And the money was a bonus. And it also gave the if you're gonna look at it from the lens of the TV side of things, it gives like a viewer something to like kind of associate with. Like they can say, "Oh, wow, this is for $1,000. Oh, this is for 1,500." Like, so I think that it will help in a broadcast situation because there's a little bit more why are you doing this type of thing. Um, so that was pretty interesting. And so we got the A main number two going, and Jared Wiggins got a good start. He was leading. Mayfield was in second, had a brief lead actually. And I was thinking, well, Mayfield's in second. He's on the same part of the track as Jared Wiggins. If he can drive to his capability here, he's either going to win this or get second, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to his plan. Is going to plan. Well, he lands on the back jump, um, and lands in a off the back tabletop. He's right on the line and lands on a rock, breaks the front end,
No.
breaks an aluminum part. Everyone thought he broke a plastic front arm or upper arm. He actually broke the A block, aluminum A block in the front, pulled the arm back, broke the rear B block, and he was out. And so, for him, he just went from winning the first A main to being in contention in the second main of, hey, I'm either going to get a first and a first, or I got a first and a second going here. Either way, he's thinking, I'm doing pretty good. He breaks, gets 15th. So, Jimmy Babcock's doing the announcing for the racers, and he's saying, this probably puts Brian out of it. Like he's not going to be able to win the overall even with a win and a last place and then maybe winning again. That might not be good enough to win overall. So, I think from Ryan's standpoint, is going from mentally like, hey, I could maybe win all three races here. I have a chance to win this whole thing. In a split second,
14 grand.
it went from, hey, I could maybe win 14 grand to now maybe I'm lucky to get the 1,500, and so, and on the other side of this, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the racer, we have this other race going on, the Roar Nationals, which Dakota Ryan Cavallari decided to go to instead of the Visions event, along with some others. But I would say
This is like that whole PGA and the Live Tour thing.
maybe a little bit, yeah. Paul kind of described that situation to me too. And,
Oh, really? See, yeah, go ahead.
But so they're these other racers, Dakota and Cavallari, and Joe Bornhorst, Tyler Jones, were racing at the E Nationals, and they're racing for the national titles, right? We talked about this in the chat where we had several pro guys that went to Visions, kind of, maybe were racing on TV and maybe racing for money. The other guys said, you know what? I'm not sure how that's going to go. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to go do the Roar Nats because, especially if you're like a Dakota, he's thinking, I might be able to win all three classes at
Yeah,
the Roar
really.
Nationals.
Mayfield's not going to be there.
Mayfield's not going to be there. These other guys aren't going to be there. Maybe if I won all three at this race, that actually is a bigger deal to him. We'll call it money opportunity because, that's how this is. And he decided on that.
Yeah.
And so they're over there racing at the Roar Nationals. And I mean, Cavallari was running good. Dakota was running good. Joe Bornhorst, Tyler Jones. Like I said, those guys are probably consistently seem to be the quickest. So that race is going on. And, so you got a guy like a Ryan who's probably like, hey, I committed to this Visions race and I won A main number one. I just broke out in A main number two. That just cut my possible winnings down here, completely in half at least. And Then the E Nationals is going on. It's like, hey, these guys are still alive. All the guys I normally race with are still alive to try to win 2 or 3 classes at the Roar Nationals, which you would have to think that would he would be involved in, right? I mean, those are the two guys he's always raced with. Those are the two guys that he's had success against. So you got to think you're racing to win something there. Um, so I think that moment kind of hit a little bit in A main number 2, where it was like, I just broke the dream of sweeping this thing,
Yeah.
getting the big, at least having the opportunity to win it was gone early. You'd like for it to go to A3, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, that race goes down. Jared Wiggins wins it. So now the way the points work in this is I took a picture of it, but Brandon set it up like Supercross. There's no drops. Like in a traditional A main format, you can have one bad race as a drop. It's your 2 best finishes count. Well, for this Visions event, all 3 counted, and that's why that um, breaking in a second in any of them was a big
Put them
deal.
out. Right.
So, but the way the points were done, and he said that this comes from a Supercross event. I think it's one of the monster events or something, where it's 25 points to win A main, any A main, 22 for second, then 20, 18, and then it went 1 point apiece down to 15th.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of a bonus for finishing in like the top 4. There was, especially first to second, there was a 3 point difference first to second. So we're standing up there. First we're back in the pits, and Ryan's kind of getting his stuff ready, and he's just like, "Well, this kind of sucks. Like, what am I, like, am I out of this thing, or?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess all you can do is finish strong, see what happens." And if you look at the points, I get up on the driver's stand because I was watching with Scotty, and with Ryan breaking and other results happening, it really opened up who could win the overall. Like it was really hard to figure out. You couldn't, traditionally when you're running these races as a racer, that the way that they're doing the points, right? So it's like if I win, I get 1 point. If I get second, I get 2 points. You can kind of do the math in your head while you're racing, right? So you can
Hmm.
say, hey, I'm in the lead and I have a first and a second. That means I got whatever 3 points, and so's got a third. And if he won this one, that would be a fourth. And I'm gonna, so you can kind of do the math in your head at some of these larger events and determine either where you need to finish or approximately if you have a chance to win. Well, um, with the way they did the points here, with the 20, 25, 22, it's like kind of probably trying to do the math in your head while you're racing wasn't necessarily like as possible. I'm sure you could kind of figure it out, but but if you're up there going, okay, so I got 22 plus, and you're like,
Oof.
yeah, like it would be kind of tough. So while the guys, so we were standing up there, and Scotty comes to me and he says, we were looking at the points because him and Jimmy actually had it the current total they were looking at, and Scotty was like, he's like looking at this, he's like Ryan is, even because he won the first main and there's a 3 point advantage. He said he's really not completely out of this. Like he's like, sure, it kind of things would have to go his way, but if he won this last race in combined with the first race and what happened to the other drivers, it still was mathematically possible for him to win.
So you're telling me there is a
Yeah,
chance?
so I'm standing there and I was like, whoa, like I didn't really think that it was going to be possible. Getting 15th, he got 6 points. You know what
Okay.
I mean? And
So you won the first one.
yeah, he got 25 in the first main. He got 6 in the second one. And I'm
So it's
thinking, oh, this is
38.
over. I'm thinking, oh,
Okay.
this is over. I'm like, how you
Mm.
going to, but there's other guys getting like sevenths and ninths and stuff like that. And, which aren't, rewarded as much point wise. So Scotty's basically telling me that Ryan has a mathematical chance to win. Sure, there's other guys that probably have a better chance of winning because they've gotten like fourth, third, one, something like that. So I go and tell Ryan, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm like, you're not completely out of this. Like, it's not impossible for you to win. He's just kind of like, okay, okay, I understand.
You're like,
So
there's a mathematical chance.
that she
The
could
Jets
still
have
win.
a mathematical chance of winning every game. Also, if that
And I
clears
think,
things up for you.
what's funny is when you talk to Ryan before the whole thing started, Brandon put the points in, like right in front of his pit. He put it, he taped it up right there. And I'm like, hey, Ryan, did you look at the points? How this works? He's like, no, not really. He's like, I just kind of felt like I had to win them all. I was like, well, I'm like, that's probably a pretty good assumption. But
Right. But
so
he
anyway,
needed some help in that third main.
yeah, you
So
need a little bit of help.
you needed
So
somebody to really drop down. I mean,
yeah,
you needed Wiggins to break or something.
so what's happening is um the way the starting order was, it was Tessman first, Mayfield second, um, and I can't remember who was third on down, but that was the starting order in the third one. And what I was thinking to myself was, wow, this is going to be interesting because um, I think because the racers didn't know the points, so if you're Ty Tessman and his dad, you're probably thinking Mayfield starts second, but he broke. He doesn't have a chance to win the overall,
Okay.
right? But they did because they hadn't had any problems. They had like a fourth and a I forget what they had. Like
So
they had decent points. Like so it was actually possible for Ty to win the overall, and he was starting first. And like Jared Wiggins and Cole Ogden, and there's about 4 or 5 guys that I think mathematically could have won. And so I think, but people didn't really know the points, and they didn't really think that even like Ryan and others could win. But
so
as the
so
race started, go ahead.
well, Wiggins. So in the first main, what was the results? Mayfield.
Well, Mayfield won and Lutz got second. That's what I remember.
Where did Wiggins finish?
I don't know. We'd have to look it up. I can look
I mean,
it up.
he won the whole thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So he had to be right behind him. So Wiggins must have been third,
I don't know
and
if he was
then
third. I'll look though.
who'd you say was second after the first? Tessman
No, Lutz.
or Lutz? So Lutz must have really dropped in the second main.
Yeah, I think he actually was doing really well also. And I'll pull it up while we're talking for the sake of
Because I'm trying to
being.
figure out how Wiggins won. He must have
Yeah.
been right on the.
So if you go to A main number one, it was actually Mayfield, Ryan Lutz, Spencer, Cole Ogden, Mason Fuller,
Wow.
and then Jared Wiggins got sixth and Ty got seventh. So going into the second main,
What was the points?
well, I don't. It doesn't show what the points were,
Oh man, that would have been.
but the second main, that's the one that Wiggins won. Cole Ogden second, Ty Tessman third, Seth
This
Van
one's-
Dalen, Tanner Denny, Ryan Pavitas, and that's the
Oh,
main. Ryan got.
boy, the second really did get mixed up.
Yeah, so it changed everything dramatically. Even like Spencer Rivkin, he got 10th. He got third in the first one,
Right.
which he was in pretty good position. He got 10th in that one because I think his tire came off in that one. They were having an issue on the starting line, and guys noticed that his tire was coming off the wheel. Richard ran back and tried to change a couple of them, but I think they were all falling off. But he got one change before the race started. But anyway, that's the race Mayfield got last. So we're into the third main now, and Ryan actually started second behind Ty. Ty gets a great start, and Ryan just comes around on the second lap and makes it. He just traction rolls. He's going through a corner and flips over, and he basically drops back to like right in the back. He's in like 12th or something. And I'm thinking, oh, this is over. I thought it was over before, but now it's really over. And so you're watching the racing, and Ryan Pavitas was running well in that race. And a lot of other drivers were running well. And all of a sudden, Ryan's like back into third. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, he's back into third. And then Jimmy Babcock's announcing, because he can see the points on his computer. We
Right.
couldn't see the points. So he's announcing that if Ty finished in the lead as he was going to win the overall. And then I want to say like Ryan Pavitas was second. And then Mayfield was in third. And he was saying that Ryan being in third was going to get him on the podium for the overall still. He was going to get like third. Well, then Ryan gets into second. And the way the results were at the time, Jimmy was saying, okay, this is going to put Ty winning the overall. Now it's going to move Mayfield to second overall, and so forth and so on. And I'm thinking, oh, well, this is kind of nice. He didn't finish, but he's still going to get on the podium, um, have a good showing. And Ty makes a mistake in the back, kind of jumps the difficult jump in the back. He jumps kind of on the guys would jump on the infield and have to jump out. And that's kind of what happened to him. He might have had to be marshaled.
Mhm.
So anyway, now Ryan's all over him, gets by him, gets in the lead, goes across the start finish line. And Jimmy's like, he's kind of watching the computer. He's not necessarily watching the track. So when Ryan crosses, it shows him in the lead and updates the points. And it says, hey, he's like, oh, Ryan's in the lead now. Now it's showing he can win the overall with this. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't think this was going to happen. And
And he's saying this so everybody can hear it.
yeah, all the drivers hear it. So
So they're all like,
so it's
"Oh,
yeah, it's adding fuel to the fire,
right."
right? Because you're up there racing, and now all of a sudden, Ty goes from 1 to 2, Mayfield goes 2 to 1, and they're swapping. It's swapping on the computer who can win the overall. Well, Ryan cases a jump. Ty gets back inside, is back in the lead. And I think at the time, um, what happened at the time was Jared Wiggins was in the back of the pack, right? So he had a good chance to win the overall, but was currently not in the greatest position. Maybe he was in like eighth or seventh or something, right? Because I know they were lapping him on the track. Ty and Mayfield were actually lapping him, and so at that time it was Mayfield, Ty. Anyway, whatever happened, Ty gets in the lead. Ryan's not that far behind, makes a little run, catches up, traction rolls on the front straightaway, gets back on his wheels, and I'm thinking, oh, that kind of cost him quite a bit. Couple laps goes by, he's right back on Ty again. Then they jump that back jump, which is now part of the highlight package, and he gets to the inside. Ty's on the outside, and to me, it kind of looks like Ryan kind of pinched through and got clear, like he was clearly in front of him on the inside. And I'm thinking, all right, well, he made the pass. And just then, Ty basically hits the back of him. And then they just go barreling into the fence in the pipe. And, I mean, it's a hard hit, hard hit. Ty actually ended up back on his tires, I believe, and kept going. And Mayfield was upside down on that part of the track, and his car flamed out.
Oof.
So, um, that's the moment where kind of all hell broke loose. Because so I'm trying to give the build up here, right? Like, which is
Yeah.
um, it's more than just these two guys. There was a whole race going on that nobody knew the points and how it was working, the drivers. And when Jimmy is announcing, he's making these updates kind of live. And it's like it goes from, okay, Ty can win the overall. Oh, now Mayfield's in the lead. He can win the overall. And then all this is happening, and Jared Wiggins is moving up in the pack. He might have was a little lower. And all this stuff happens with Ryan and Ty. Ryan's out. He's like walking down the driver's stand, but then decides to come back up and finish the race. They start his car, or Drew starts his car, gets back out there. So now he's in like ninth, but he's just driving around, like finishing. And Ty wins the main, and with so he crosses the line, and everyone's like, oh, Ty won, and even Jimmy Babcock's like, oh, Ty won the overall. Well, what happened on the last lap, I guess, is Spencer had a mistake. Jared Wiggins got by him, and then Jared Tebow realized that Wiggins was right behind him, and he pulled over and let Jared Wiggins go by, which gave him another position and enough to win the overall. And when
Mm.
he crossed and he got like did he get third or fourth in that last one? He actually got third in the last race. That actually gave him the win overall and not Ty. So Ty got second overall, and then Cole Ogden got third. So, and we know Ryan didn't finish the second main, and then really technically didn't completely finish the third main. So I think he got like eighth, something like that. So he went from in the race being called to, hey, you could win this, you could be in the top three. They collide, however you want to, you know, everyone has their own take on whether they, like that move or how that all went down. Ryan, as in like in the video on Live RC, jumped all over Ty for the way it happened. And, he obviously, like we talked about before, if Ryan's not happy about something, he lets you know. And he was letting Ty know about it and that he wasn't happy. And I think the what I'm trying to package this like is the way it kind of all happened. It wasn't just like, hey, these two guys bumped at this point in the race, and that was the only thing that there was a lot more that happened in all three of these races that led to it being this competitive and this close. And it was pretty exciting watching it there live. So, now, of course, then they kind of packaged it. Live RC kind of packaged that lap when they hit, and then Ryan's reaction and all that type of stuff. They kind of packaged that as a promotion for the event, which I don't
Right.
really blame them. That I think that there's a reason that Ryan was probably the first phone call they made to have at that event, because they wanted him for his driving, the knack that he has to come back from behind, and for when things don't go his way and he feels that he's been wronged, his reaction to it. That's the reason they wanted him, because um, that gives it another element of depth. If you're looking at it through the lens, like I said before, of this could be a television show or something, it gives that impression that it adds another element to this RC racing that can be on the broadcast. Well, anyway, so that's how I was looking at it. Um, you know, it's tough because my personality isn't like Ryan's. We're kind of like very different. Um, he's a lot more he's more of an aggressive personality or confrontational or whatever. And so, but what's really been strange about all this, and then Ryan made a video. He told me, he's like, I'm going to make a video, just kind of explain the weekend. And
Yeah.
I thought it was incredibly accurate. That's the first
Yep.
thing I told him. He's like, what do you think of this video? I'm like, it's incredibly accurate. I mean, this is what happened to you throughout the weekend. This was your experience of running this race. And there's definitely some people that don't like the way he reacted. But there was really a lot of people that did. And it gets kind of interesting because it gets a little deep in terms of how people, um, like stand up for yourself, right? People always say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you should stand up for
And then
yourself."
when you do,
Yeah, that's where this where it comes from. And honestly, I think um, this isn't the first time stuff like this has happened during races. Obviously, you talked about the 80s and the 90s, and
just wasn't. Yeah, you didn't hear
you know,
about it today. The internet.
it's not the
Out.
first time it's happened to Ryan. It's not the first time it's happened to Ty. These guys are pretty seasoned when it comes to these little confrontations, I will say. But and for the most, and I think Ty handled it really well. He kind of went at Ryan a little bit, I think, in his interview. Um,
Oh, I didn't see that.
yeah, but I think he kind of said some things there, and Ryan made reference to that in his own video that he made. But these guys are it's funny because they kind of love to hate each other. Um, we were just at the Carpet Nationals, maybe what was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago? I don't even know. They're like sharing setups. They're not even on the same car. You know what I mean? Like they would stop by his pit because I was pitting right in front of Ryan. They'd stop by and say, "Hey, you know, why do you got those springs on?" I just went and got them. They're good. You should try them.
Yeah.
And then I go in the hobby shop.
Hey,
They,
you should
oh man,
also try maybe 35 weight oil on that car, Testament.
what's funny is they have a pretty good relationship.
They're
Um,
sabotaging each other.
they will they talk to each other about different setups and tires, even though they're not really on the same brands, they're not necessarily on the same tires, but they do discuss things and they have a pretty good relationship. uh, I would say off the track it's pretty good. On the track, yeah, like Ryan described it, it's a rivalry um, that probably won't end, but I think everybody's had those rivals through the years in their racing that um, that you're up against all the time. And it just seems like they're always there, no matter where you're going. When you show up, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm racing with this guy again. And I think it's really what I see is I think people are seeing this. They're like, oh my gosh, this kind of stuff happens to me. What should I do? Or do I like the way this guy reacted? Or do I like the way Ty react? They're like starting to put themselves in those positions like, well, how would I do it?
Yeah.
And so that's what's kind of caused a lot of conversation about this after the fact. And I would say I see people stating their point of view in a somewhat clean way. Some of these things turn ugly.
Yeah. Some of the comments are ridiculous. The one guy was in there ripping Mayfield, you know, saying stuff about Mayfield and he's using all these words and everything. I'm thinking to myself, well, dude, like,
Yeah.
look at you.
Yeah. um, but I think that, I think Ryan took it to the edge there. And I think Ty handled it well. And it will probably make for some pretty good TV if we get that far. I think all of a sudden you have a story. Before that, before the, and all these stories exist in RC. And I think if you're looking at it maybe from Brandon's point of view or somebody, all these stories exist out there in the business. And it just depends how you want to portray that story. And I think to some extent that's what our podcasting buddy Keenan with his podcast and the RCGP, that's what they were hoping for with the RCGP, is they would have this kind of energy from an event. That
Oh,
was what they were hoping for. They wanted these confrontations. They wanted this um, um, reality side to kind of come out. And I think um, to some extent, I don't think it really has for them yet because the characters uh, maybe aren't as confrontational that are in the race, I guess to say. Maybe the confrontational guys so far on their racing haven't been in contention for first or second. Maybe a little, So I think that's what they were looking for with RCGP. And it's not that the side of this that I like. I don't like the confrontational, the drama part of it.
oh,
But when you actually see people's reaction to it, it's through the roof. They absolutely, you could sit there and you can make as many diff building, shock building videos as you want if you're one of these drivers. And people are like, oh, ho hum, another shock video, and this is how you put your oil. And I think the racer thinks like, hey, I'm helping. Like,
yeah.
I want to have a setup video and I want to teach people how to do this or teach people how to do that. And they get 1,500 views, right? And then something like this happens and people can't get enough of it. They
Right.
want to give their take, they want to watch it, they want to say, "Oh, that's BS," or "No, I agree." They can't get enough of it. And it's amazing that um and we learn those lessons over and over again in the world the way it works, but people are attracted to these things. And um I got somebody that's not even in the RC racing scene sent me a message one day and was all, "Damn, you guys are hardcore." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I saw that video." I'm like, "Are you talking about the video with Mayfield and Ty?" He's like, "I don't know their names, man. They were just going at it." And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah." So he saw this video and he immediately is like, he's interested,
Right.
right? He had piqued his interest, and I'm
Yeah. Well,
just
I
like,
showed a couple people that don't even know anything about RC, and they're like, "Wow, they take it that serious."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
But
the same thing that the person said to me. And
mhm.
um, so it was just funny. I don't really like the way that it ended, personally, but maybe from the standpoint of getting this, having a package story that maybe is on, like I said, the Mav TV, that you're trying to find. Uh,
Well,
then,
Will was saying it's the Flow Racing app. I still haven't found out either, but
okay, well, we'll get to the bottom of it. But I honestly, when I scroll through my TV, I actually like I see Mav TV like as something I can watch. So
hmm,
um, anyway, um, so from me, if you're looking again, maybe if you're like a Brandon or you're like, or I'm thinking, trying to think through the lens of making this a television show, because there's racing, there's the real racing that we do, the results, whatever. But to me, this was a race kind of put on for entertainment and for a purpose. We had the money out there. We had the possible television experience, and that's what this race was about. And if it can make it to that, um, then it'll be a success. But what I'm looking at is that this happened. You have a story now that you can go with. You can have a second, you can have a second race that's just like this, and you can say, can Mayfield rebound, right?
right.
You know, the
Yeah.
because the way they were pushing him was that when you listen to, actually on your phone or YouTube or whatever, they were saying he was the number one ranked driver, which, he is according to the top 25 ranking thing. They're like, hey, this guy's ranked number one. He's probably the favorite. And then you have this battle with him, not only him, but all the racers throughout the weekend. You have this ending that they had. And now you're thinking, okay, well, the next one immediately is, how does Mayfield respond, right?
Hmm.
He's the number one ranked guy in the world, or at that time. He had a breakage and then a confrontation, and how does he respond? Can he come back with a win? And how does Ty Tessman do? And then can Jared Wiggins, have his same success? And you know what I mean? Like now you have a story, you have
Right.
somewhere to go with it. Whereas before, you didn't really necessarily have that great of a story, but now you have an excellent story and something that says, even to myself, I mean, I'm 4 or 5 feet away on the driver's stand watching all this go down. But to me, I'm thinking about it going, I want to see a race too. What does happen? Like, cause I got these storylines kind of going in in my head, right? And I'm thinking, hey, yeah, how would the second race go?
Hmm.
Could these guys respond? Could somebody win all three? Because now that becomes a factor. Oh, nobody's won all three races to win. Can somebody? You have all
Yeah.
these stories now. So um, if it was me, I'm looking to see some of these things unfold just for the casual viewership, like people checking in on it. You know, I still love the way we traditionally do our races as a racer. I like to qualify, run the long main events or triple main events for 10 scale. But if this is a show, then they have the components there to have a second one.
Hmm.
So, so like it or not, that's how it all went down, and um, we'll have to see if there's
Well, now
another.
we have to wait till next year.
Well, my guess is if you were doing this, you almost kind of want to do it sooner.
Well, I
Um,
mean, yeah, I guess you can because Live RC will be covering the what's the next big event? Worlds.
well, no, there's the
Or-
Wicked Weekend is next weekend, and then it would be the Worlds in September. But I think to do this the same way, um, it has to be it has to be an event on its own. It has to be the same exact style event. It could be at a different facility. It wouldn't need to be at that facility, but you'd have to have the same event, right? It'd have
So these races, like the races going forward, they're going to be on Mav TV or
well,
just
that particular
that race.
that race they signed, as I understand it, they signed a contract to have a 1 hour RC special um, on Mav TV. So what
Oh, so
happened
that was
there?
only on for an hour.
Well,
Uh,
they will put it together so it's an hour. So they'll take all the footage that they got when they were there and assemble it into a 1 hour show.
okay,
So,
gotcha.
and that's why you were seeing those features. Like I think you saw them when you were watching. Like there's a feature on a driver, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like I think all those things, and then the action on the track is going to be packaged as a show.
Okay,
That's the way I understand it.
gotcha.
So
So
my
they're trying to get on Mav TV. Like,
it's a I think that they're trying to get multiple episodes would be my guess, but they have a contract for 1 hour right now.
okay,
So,
which they already did.
well, it's not it hasn't been aired yet.
Oh, okay.
So it
Yeah, I
hasn't
see what you're saying.
so they're going to take all the footage that's been
From Visions,
yep,
once they air it, that's it.
yeah.
Then
So, but then from there it's you could do more, right? You could say, "Hey, this is the, you know, this is the race 2 or the race 3," and you could say, and like I said, if you were, to me, if I was trying to sell this to somebody, I'd say, "Hey, race 2, we already have a storyline now. We have Mayfield versus Ty, and then we have Jared Wiggins, the underdog. We have um, this and that. We have these different stories kind of going, and now you could have a second race somewhere to see how that played out, and then maybe like a third race that would be the end moment for the season, right? Like you could have this as a season.
yeah,
I don't know. This is my uh, perception of how it could be done.
I'm just not. I'm not understanding like why, and I'm not sure what it would take to do this, but like for me, I'm thinking why hasn't Live RC just done a Live RC TV app? Like, and
And you might have even asked him that before when he was on the show. But my guess is what you're looking for is the viewers that are already on some other network.
yeah, that's true. Okay,
So you're hoping that you kind of have these cached viewers already. Like, it's like there's going to
yeah, you're trying to
be
grow it.
there's
Good
X
point.
amount of people watching whatever Mav TV at 2 in the afternoon on Sunday, and you're trying to take advantage of them watching. And then I'm sure there's replays, like
Yeah,
so you have the first one that's like when it's the first, but then there's multiple ones, could re-air throughout the week at like midnight, or I don't know how it works. But um yeah, so
yeah, that's a good point. You're trying to expose it to more of an audience.
yeah, I think you have to
But
be somebody before, and this is just my take and not really knowing, but to me it would be you'd have to kind of be somebody before you could have like your own station or your own, like, I'm sure we could have J Concepts TV on the Apple TV,
I don't
But
know. I don't know what it takes.
I think you can,
Like,
but you have to kind of be somebody, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you have to, there has
well,
to
you
be
are
a
somebody, damn it,
well, I
in the
think,
RC world.
and I'm sure there's obviously a cost involved, but you have to produce something. Um, I don't know how it all works.
I don't know. It would,
I'm
yeah.
just kind of spitballing, but the
I
situation,
I just want to be able to download an app on my TV and just watch
I don't know.
RC.
Maybe that's coming, but um, but you do hit a wall in terms of somebody has to say, hey, um, uh, you know, well, let me download the Live RC app. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I don't
like,
know what it would cost. It'd be interesting. I
yeah,
think I
I
asked
think,
Brandon this. I might have to go back and listen to that
yeah,
episode.
I think you had
But
mostly the same questions.
I
Yeah.
just, yeah, I want a live RC, just like I want a J Concepts app. I want a live RC TV app,
Hmm.
just on my TV. I could go watch, I could pick races that I want to watch, go back to a couple years, watch a race, stuff like that.
Well, what's really
Um,
funny? Go ahead.
but yeah, that's what I want, Jason. Just, I want the J Concepts app.
Make it happen.
For the listeners out there and people viewing. Anyway, uh, I've been on Jason for some time now. We're gonna make it happen, Jason.
Okay.
Actually, we're close. You just
Okay.
don't know it yet. Kean, our podcasting friend that we were just talking about. Kean's saying, "Hey, wait, Kean's got Kean Keith White up here now." Okay. You need the outside RC numbers. Yeah, I realize that now that Jason fully explained it to me, and I wasn't thinking they want to expose it to more people. I don't know. Every time I show RC to somebody, they just don't turn out interested,
Well,
and
and
I
I
don't
think
know what it
that
is.
is a realization that I think
Yeah.
a lot of that have to come to is they're into it from the standpoint of a quick fix. You know, they'll buy that RTR car and they'll pull it out, they'll drive it around, they'll have a little fun with it, and then once they had their little fix, it's over. Like they're just like, yeah, I did that, I had that. But to get that full dedication that this actually requires to run at that level, it's a special kind of person that we're after. You have to be detail oriented, a little mechanically inclined. You have to be, you got to have a little bit of a talent, but a ton of dedication. And that's the part that I think people don't have is the dedication to sit down there and make all this, to make all these cars built the way they're supposed to be built. And it's a hobby, man. You're supposed to put some time into it. Like it's not just like
But I don't want to put time into it. I want
like
somebody else to build my car,
people
and I want to go out on the track and just drive.
people pop the trunk and grab the slash by the bumper and pull it
Yeah.
out. That's the level of dedication I think the large percentage wants. But
Yeah, because I showed a video of the 8 scale racing to somebody in the neighborhood here that has really doesn't know anything about RC, has the slash, like you said,
mhm,
just pulls it out, drops it on the street, and drives around.
yeah.
And for me, I think 8 scale racing is cool and the track and everything, but to other people, not so much really.
Yeah, I
People
mean,
that I run into, they're just kind of like, oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, and there's pro drivers, and there's really, I mean, they pay people to do this, stuff like that.
well, and
And you're
everybody
like,
thinks
okay, never mind.
well, the other thing is people think it's easy.
Yeah.
They when they watch it, everybody thinks everything's easy. You have to have actually done something a little bit to get a little bit of an idea or a respect for what it looks like at a higher level. So
Mm.
it's like, to me, like if you have a basketball and you go down to the court and you like, dribble around and you like make a couple shots, you're like, okay, I get it. This is basketball. I'm doing it. And then you turn on TV and you're like, well, this guy just jumped from the free throw line and dunked it. This guy made a
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
behind the back pass,
Yeah.
and Steph Curry shooting 10 threes. It's like I didn't make one shot or a layup. Like you're like, okay, I get it. Like I see what's kind of going on here. And I think due to the nature of it being a toy or a hobby vehicle, people tend to take it a little more as a toy or a hobby. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I used to do real racing." It's like, well, this is actually real racing too. It's just a scale version of it. It's like it's not fake.
Hmm.
Like it's real. It's just not the same size. Like so people will make that assumption lots of times. Like, well, I used to do real racing. Well, no, this is real racing. Oh no, but you know what I mean. The big cars.
Yeah.
Like, well, just because yours are big and these are small doesn't make it any different. Like, how
Right.
much money did you win making your running your big cars? Well, nothing. Well, that's the same as this. You know what I mean? Like, so um, it's just because of the size, and people tend to associate these type of cars to kids. And then when it's associated with kids, it's associated with um, a toy. And I think that's the barrier that's a little tough to break right off the bat, um, because people see it like that.
Jason Santos saying, ready to run, remove the hobby aspect.
A lot of it, yeah. The instant gratification, pre-mounted tires, pre-cut bodies, um, pre-built cars, everything set up for you. Um, you in order to do this, you kind of have to fall in love with the whole package. You kind of have to want to work on it and make it look cool more than you want to have to race it, because that's really what you spend the majority of the time doing, is working on it. So yeah, at the that's part of it. Although I will say that I think our modelers today, our hobbyists and our modelers today are the scale and the crawler guys. That's the hobby part of this right now, is that segment with crawling and scaling, because they're the ones that want to build everything. They want to make it all themselves. And of course you can get the RTRs, but that's just a start for them. That's just that's just a starter pack. In racing, we try to give people the same car that you race. That's how we advertise it, right? We say, "Oh, get the latest B6.4. That's the exact one that Spencer Rivkin's racing." It's like in this crawling and the scaling world, that's almost a deterrent for them. They're like, "Oh, I want to make it my own. Like, I don't need it like that. Like, I want to just do everything myself."
Right.
And that's how RC racing used to be. Back when we were 80s, 90s, you would have to do a lot yourself. That was the fun part. You could choose different uh, bodies, and you could make things and um, paint it yourself and all that kind of stuff. That was the hobby
Yeah, I
part.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was the hobby part of it. In the racing today, we've taken a lot of that stuff out of it, because with the RTR car, getting people going. But we have drivers today that only want to drive. They have mechanics, they hire mechanics, they use their parents or their dad as a mechanic, and they only do the driving. And um, I think ultimately, if you're going to be successful, you have to kind of have to know the game pretty well. Maybe the only person that gets away with that is Masami, but but he knew the tire game, and that was probably the number one part. His dad handled the cars and he handled the tires, and I guess you could probably say the tires are a gigantic part of it. So, and I don't think Masami didn't know how to wrench, but that just
It's like,
he
why bother?
he concentrated on the tires and the driving. I mean, today when you see him on Facebook, he's building cars. His dad still does.
Which account would that be on?
I don't know. 24, Masami 24. I actually got a car from Masami. Did I tell you that?
Uh, yes, I think you did in the chat. Yeah.
I asked him one for. I've been talking to him for a long time about one in particular that I want. I still want to get from him, but he can't find it. He showed it to me when we were at
Can't find it.
Yatabi. He showed it to me when he was at Yatabi, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, this was the car from Winter Champs, 1994. I was racing with you." And
I
it was
want
like
it.
it was I'm like, "Yeah, this car to me, it's the coolest paint job he had." Um, Obviously, I raced against him, so it's like, I'd like to have that car. And for him, it was just another winning car. It wasn't like anything special
Mhm.
because he has hundreds of cars, and like only his world championship cars does he really like put out in the showcase. But the other ones were just like, yeah, I won winter champs with that one, no big deal. This one TQ'd the worlds. I didn't win, so I didn't do anything with it. Like, um, and yeah, yeah. I mean, Jason agrees. 94 winter champs paint. It's to me, it's the best one. Like, it looks so good. Masami was popular for everybody knew his cars, but I don't know that ever one of his paint jobs was ever the same. That was what was kind of unique about it is, the main color was green, but
Well, you change it up all the time.
yeah, the paint job was always different.
Hmm.
It was never the
I never
same.
noticed that.
Yeah, every single car I think is different.
Wow.
The events would match, like he would have the same paint job on for that event, but the next event, the whole paint job was different again with just the color would be green in the back or there would be green, but almost everything is different.
Damn.
And I think it almost got more dramatic the better he got. I'm sure maybe when he was, you know,
So it's like an
younger,
ultra skin on Call of Duty.
hey, whatever you call it, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
He
know.
evolves as you get more kills. So
Ah,
uh, as
yeah.
Masami was getting more kills
Okay.
/ wins,
Okay.
his body, his RC car body,
Was evolving.
was evolving.
I like it. Yeah.
Yes. Kian liked that one.
Yeah. It's a good one. So, yeah. So Masami couldn't find this car, I guess. I'm sure he'll find it. But then
Well,
he
maybe he
came up,
doesn't want to give it to you.
he came, maybe. But he came up with another one. I wanted to ask him for the trophy too, the car and the trophy, because they're right next to each other.
Jesus, Jason, take it easy.
I don't ask for much, I don't ask for much. It's not like I asked for the stealth car in the 91
Well,
trophy.
you might as well while you're at it.
This is only 94 winter champs, man. But yeah, but he found a car for me, and it's cool. Jason Santos, he found it in the magazine, winning a race. So he authenticated it for me, I guess we could say.
Yeah. Oh man,
You know,
don't get me started.
so we got not only was it a Masami car from him, and his dad signed it,
Wow.
but then Jason authenticated it by finding it in the magazine, winning something.
Jeez. It's worth a little penny here and there.
Then I pulled it out of the box. I'm like, "Hey, Fred, find a place for this." We have so many cars. It's like he's like, "Where am I going to squeeze this one in?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
I'm like, "You find a place for this, I'll give you this mini JRX2." He's like, "Okay."
No problem. Found a spot.
So it's the 97 JMRCA two-wheel national champion.
Wow. What's JMRCA?
It's it's Japanese Model Racing Car Association.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. That adds up.
There you go.
So the 1997.
Yep,
Okay. And you have it.
I got it
Where'd you guys end up putting it?
in the garage. The RJ Concepts garage, not just the garage.
Gee,
Yeah,
Fred,
put it up on the
way to go finding a spot for it. In the
hung it up
garage.
hung it up in the hook on the top of the garage next to the bicycle.
Yeah. That's where I have my hotshot too. It's hanging on a hook in the garage.
Hey, you still got it.
Yeah, I still have it. Still has the dirt on it from 1987 too.
That's pretty big.
It is.
87, huh?
Yep.
Man.
Like that guy said earlier, we are old.
And we were just talking about 91. He thought we were old. Didn't even go back that far.
Hey, I was only 16 or whatever at the time. I can't do the math. I failed math.
Yeah.
I would have been in real trouble at that Visions race trying to do the math on the points.
You'd be up there racing your heart out, going, okay, I got 22 plus 16, 11. I don't know.
I should have. Damn it! I should have took up my math teacher's offer on tutoring.
That's why Ryan just said to me, he's like, all I know is I probably need to win all three. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Good. Yeah, you got to win out, just like in sports. Win out and see what happens.
Someone else found some tires from 97.
Matt Adams is saying he just found a bag of tires from 97 with dirt still on them.
If you put that on Facebook, everybody will say, look at that real dirt. That's when racing was racing. That's what it starts every time.
Yeah.
You put a 10 scale car with dirt on it on Facebook, you're going to get a lot of comments. Actual dirt. That's what people like to say. Which is kind of true.
Yeah, I got dirt down in the chassis there. It's still rolling around when you tilt the car. It's cool as hell, man.
You're like 87 dirt.
87? You think it would just kind of like fall apart.
Hey, how about this? But... that car is dirt old.
Thoughts like God won.
Thank you.
If Matrix was here, he would laugh too.
Yep. Good movie. We were supposed to do a watch along with that.
Wow, Jason, you're never around. Every time I talk to you, you're flying somewhere.
You're doing
years this
ago,
and that.
Huh? 2 years ago, we were supposed to do a Commando watch along.
Hey, whatever. You know how it goes.
We could still say we're going to do it.
Yeah, we'll do it next week.
What a movie, Commando.
We always have these great ideas to do, and we never do them. It's kind of like, I think it's my fault, to be honest with you. Somebody, because you know how I am in real life. Somebody invites me somewhere, I don't show up.
Like Kirby today.
Oh, he wanted me to go down to, yesterday it was a softball tournament. Well, he's playing softball today, but he also did a tournament. It was like a fundraiser tournament down there in Tower City, which is only like 50 miles from me, which is actually pretty far from me. But it was 100 degrees out, dude. I'm not going out 100 degrees. So
yeah.
I let everybody down all the time. So actually I had a friend message me today and he's like, hey, we should go out and hang out here. And I'm like, look, dude, just so you know, my buddy Ian has been trying to get me out for 2 years and he hasn't done it yet. If I go out here next week with you, it's not going to look good. So anyway.
I guess you could invite him to your place and,
I don't like anybody coming over.
There you go. That's easy then.
Yeah. I'm serious.
What's that meme that they
It's like your own little place. I don't want anybody showing up here.
It's like that meme they showed you. Do you want to go hang out later where we can all stare at our phones with each other?
Yeah. Matt Adams is saying it's effing hot out where we're on. It's effing hot out. We're on the way home from LCRC. Okay, that's right. LCRC had a race this weekend.
It's got to be hot out there.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal. And so, Matt, you're not far from me. LCRC is only about an hour down the road. So, and I was telling
only
you,
an hour, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, hour 10, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we were out there for the Nats a couple years ago.
Yeah. Actually, the one I didn't make too. Okay, I didn't make it last year, wasn't it?
21, I think, 2021.
Oh, okay. Actually, if you were going to be down at the ENATS, I was going to go to that. I thought about going to it. Who am I kidding? I wasn't going. But I was close. I was in Harrisburg that weekend of the Nationals because I got back from vacation. I was in Harrisburg, and the ENATs were going around, and I was like, I wonder if I should go down there for the mains on Sunday.
Been a good idea.
Well, I didn't go.
We had Hannah down there supporting the race for us. JC,
That's the thing. I could watch this stuff on my phone.
you could have. Yeah, so that race was going on. Dakota won 8-scale e-buggy and short course, and Cavallari won truggy.
Which I can't believe short course is still going.
4x4 short course.
God.
You know
I'm
what's amazing
serious.
about all that is when we put the videos of 4x4 short course on YouTube and on Facebook, we probably get more comments on those than we do on the other ones.
What?
Like, for some reason, people love watching it. Like, maybe they just feel like those are the trucks that they have or something. Like,
I guess I don't
they
know.
watch
But
the video, and I noticed some guy put something like on the one about Dakota winning. He put the comment like, "Yo, it's a shame I couldn't make it there this weekend to give him some competition." And it was cool that he commented that, like, "Hey, I like that class, and I wish I was out there racing, trying to give it to Dakota." But it was kind of cool.
So Larry Tom earlier said, make e-buggy the same as fuel buggy and get rid of four-wheel drive short course and e-truggy. So he's saying make the Nats fueled and e-buggy. Is that what he's saying?
I think so.
I forget
think
what we
so.
were talking about back there. But anyway, he did say, but he was right on that. Get rid of four-wheel drive short course. Just get rid of it. I mean, how many entries were there?
I don't know. I actually like all those classes.
Though, if I could make the A main, because there's not a lot of entries, maybe I should enter one time just to be in the A main at the Nats. So Larry Tom's confirming that.
Maybe
Yes,
what he's saying, and I think
combine. No, he's saying combine them.
what has
So when
been
you're
brought up a couple times. Okay, go ahead.
Well, wait a minute. Wasn't the fuel Nats and wasn't
The fuel Nats was in March, and we had Nitro Buggy and Nitro Truggy. That was the only two classes there.
But weren't they at one time also e-buggy there at the Nat?
No.
Like years ago or no? Oh.
No.
Okay.
But
So he's saying let's just combine them
perhaps I believe that what he might be saying. Yeah.
and get rid of.
Yeah, like you could essentially drop four-wheel short course and e-truggy, and you could have one nationals and just include e-buggy. So it'd be an 8-scale nationals, which could probably be done.
Wait, so it wasn't done back in 2012 when I was at LCRC?
Nope. There was a separate e-nationals then too.
Wow. Okay.
What I think is very surprising to most is that e-buggies, I think, actually sell better than nitro buggies. Most don't realize that the e-buggy class has a little bit more sales behind it than nitro buggy. So that's kind of the reason why I like that it is a national level class, because I feel like if it's a good selling vehicle, it makes sense to have high level racing for it because it kind of ties together. So then you can say, hey, it makes sense to have a driver race something that wins and then you try to sell it. Makes sense. Like I was tagging you guys in those 5th scale cars they were racing at the Euros,
Right.
which I have no idea what those things are. They obviously get enough to have a Euros, but I don't think you can buy one on A-Main Hobbies. Like, I don't even know what it is. And we make, there's 5th scale vehicles like Horizon has, like trucks and buggies.
That's just something over in Europe.
It is very a European based class, but I don't think you can buy one on like A-Main. So to me, I'm just like, why even have this class? Like, it's just, to me, it should be about if it's a class to promote the business and to make sense of the wins to transform into sales, they should kind of work together. So I don't really understand some of these classes that are out there. Like there should be no 12 scale worlds anymore. It was great. 12 scale was fantastic. It's still a great vehicle to race, but it's like just to me, it doesn't make any sense anymore. Um, I think at the last one they even had like stock or something, like 17.5 short course or not short course, but 12 scale, and I'm just like, come on.
Enough. Stop the
Yeah, yeah.
nonsense, as
I mean,
Ernie would
there's
say.
not a better time to say stop the nonsense than that. Really.
STN.
Yeah. Stop the nonsense with that. Uh, yeah, I never understood why there was. I mean, there's been more trucks sold in RC than any vehicle. If you take all the truck sales that have ever sold in RC and combined it together, and then you combined everything else, the trucks would be leading. But we've never had a truck worlds. IFMAR,
It's amazing.
there was an Orca Truck World Cup.
Right.
I participated in that,
Oh,
but
how'd
but
we
yeah,
do?
I got fourth.
Okay.
So, but
That is
yeah,
amazing to me, though. No worlds for trucks.
I understand these days, but there was a time, man.
Especially back then. Yeah.
Oh
Like,
man, back then, I mean, in like 91, 2, 3, just the mid 90s, that was like stadium truck, everything. But yeah, it two wheel slash world championship.
no,
Yeah,
thank you.
maybe.
No, don't do it.
I think a short course worlds would be cool. I mean, a long time ago we brought this up, but I remember I think it was Chili Duncan that did like an April Fools or a joke that IFMAR was going to have a short course worlds, and I was just like, this is great. Like, like I'm like, this is perfect timing. And
Well, there you go. Larry Tom saying that's their
yeah,
best seller.
and make it short course. If you had a worlds for short course and everybody made like and you actually constructed it properly, it would be like really super cool. Like the way we used to do it in like 2011, 12, it was great. Like the class was so good to watch. And people loved it. But if you constructed the event right, maybe you had stadium truck and short course at the same thing, or you just had short course, but do it like we did back then, like where there was some of the real trucks were a part of it. They were either at the event or had a display with the real trucks, and
Yeah.
obviously have some rules. I don't know if you would want to make a mid motor. I think that's kind of when things started stepping down in sales. Maybe keep it to that sort of 2011 spec range, SC10 or whatever the hot Losi one was, and the Kyosho. That was like the pinnacle um, of the short course class.
I don't know. I just can't believe Stadium Truck. I can't believe Stadium Truck's not more popular in short course.
At this moment on a racing side,
Well, right now it is, right?
it probably is, but
Yeah.
like going by what Larry's saying, yeah, they're Matt Adams on Real Dirt. There you
You put
go.
it on real dirt.
So yeah, like he's saying, is the Slash is his best seller. And when did that thing come out? Like 2009?
Wow. So
Probably
have they done
09.
upgrades to it?
No, it's just like
Wow.
it's just different bodies. It's like they just changed the body and the colors, and I think pretty much the rest of it's identical.
So there's no Slash 2.0 or nothing?
Which would be great. Like if they made a Slash 2.0 and actually like redesigned the whole thing and made it super cool or cooler, I think they would see a ton of response on that. Maybe it would, kind of get things moving again. Um, Larry said it has lights now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But like, some of the vehicles
So
they went back in and kind of redesigned. I think if you said slash 2.0 and it was like a ground up new two-wheel short course, I think people would love that.
what should I be emailing Traxxas for you
Yeah, you
guys?
might. Yeah, get on that.
Since I email every other company.
How's the sledge doing, Larry? Are we selling any sledges? Yeah, the plastic molds have definitely been paid for.
Many times over.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point that it's probably the most successful RC car of all time.
Wow. Really?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you think if that thing came out in '09 and we're in like 22, um,
So what's this thing cost?
the Slash.
Yeah. And
Back
and
in the
it's ready
day,
to run, right? You just pull it out.
yeah, back in the day it was like 220 something. I don't know what they are now.
Oh.
I'm sure Larry will give us a number.
And just right out of box go.
Yeah.
259. Wow. So when you run this car, obviously it's just right out of the box. You race it like that. There's no hop ups or
Well, that's how we did it then, and I think there are some tracks that still kind of have a box stock Traxxas Slash class.
Rick Hayes checking in from YouTube. We got another YouTube viewer. Wow.
Nice.
Jeez.
Nice.
Yes, I'm trying to grow that YouTube channel, but I guess you got to put out shows in order for stuff to grow. But anyway, Rick is saying scale look of the Slash may be part of the appeal. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
I always like the way stadium trucks look, though. They look so cool. I understand that's not how a truck looks, but man,
yeah, they were cool.
they just look cool.
Especially to me, the original RC10T with the narrow front tires, just that was the real. I mean, that thing just looks so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't know, like you said, like what it actually looked like, but it was really neat.
I don't know. I never looked at it back then. I never looked at it and said, well, that doesn't look like a truck.
Yeah.
I just never did. I just thought it looked like a truck, like the body did. So that was good enough for me. I didn't care that the wheels were the way they were. And I don't know. They're easier to drive than a stadium truck, right? Or a short course truck.
Well, they used to be.
They're not anymore.
Stadium trucks are hard to drive now.
Why is that? Because of the. Let's see. Larry's saying find the molds and rear tires and wheels. Find the mold.
He wants to reread the tires and wheels for the 10T.
So why is stadium truck harder to drive now? I mean,
to me, when the track has a lot of traction, they're difficult to drive because they're edgy. They drive on the front end, and when the tracks are loose, they're looser than a two-wheel buggy.
oh wow.
So
Okay.
they're and
Very hard to
back
drive,
when we
then.
used to run them in when we used to run them in the 90s, they were actually better all the way around for all
Yeah.
those things.
It was easier to drive. Like if you couldn't drive two wheel, you just got a truck and went.
What was interesting is when I drove that, when you came up and I was doing that vintage Nats
Yeah.
years ago, and I was running the RC10T. What I noticed right away, because I hadn't driven one in forever, what I noticed right away is I could slide it, and you can't do that with really any RC car anymore. Where, where you could set it up for a turn and slide it in and counter steer out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're driving an RC car like that now, you're basically going to spin out, or you're
in
just
trouble.
Yeah, you're in big trouble. Whereas back then, you could drive a car like that, and it had the rear grip to kind of maintain that position, and you could accelerate out. And when I drove the 10T at that track we were at, I could actually still drive a little like that, and it was that's what kind of stuck out to me.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess the Slash is here to stay. Traxxas do a 2.0. Give me some credit on it.
Yeah.
I don't want any money or anything. Just give me, hey, thanks for Gotti Jr. on the podcast. We never thought about it.
Put it on the box. Put you on the box.
No, you don't want to scare away customers now.
They're like, who's this guy?
Just say endorsed by Gotti Jr. 2.0. Yeah. Though I don't know if I'm going to endorse a short course truck. That'd be really hard. Not endorse. I don't know what you would say. Just thanks to Gotti Jr. for giving us an idea. We never thought about a 2.0.
You're like an executive producer.
Executive producer. Larry wants you to bring a vintage two-wheel drive to the Kinwald race. Okay, when's the Kinwald race?
October.
Okay. So there you go. Bring the vintage two-wheel drive.
I mean, I could. I have the cars to do it.
Well, do it, man.
Do it.
Okay. Well, that's some interesting stuff there, Jason.
What was?
All that.
Well, just everything.
Just everything.
It was all real interesting.
The Mayfield stuff is what I like. So I like the controversy creates cash, as Eric Bischoff once said. And it's true.
Well.
All right, so we covered all that. Anything else in the RC world between now and April? Anything exciting? Any other exciting news?
There was really a lot of stuff. It's been a really pretty fun year.
Jason Santos is saying, I wouldn't mind going to the Kinwald race, but it'd be a haul. Yeah, from PA.
Yeah, PA to Arizona. We'd have to get Jason up in the Southwest Airlines and get him there to race.
So, yeah, we'll just fly out, Jason. How about we fly out, Jason? I'll leave from the Allentown airport.
What airport?
The Allentown airport. It's not far from Jason. Jason, how far is the Allentown airport from you? Here I go making promises that I can't keep, Jason.
Yeah.
I know, it's terrible.
I mean, you won't even go out in the local town. We're going to get you all the way to Arizona.
Yeah, see? Jason, the airport's 10 minutes away from Santos.
Well, there you go.
Yep. And it's...
We need to get Larry and J Concepts. We get together for a win a trip to the Kinwald race to race vintage, and then we'll set it up so that Jason wins it. It'll be like me. Well, you could be like second. It's
second place. You got to pay your own way there.
Yeah. Second place, you get a pit spot.
Oh, okay. Do I have a car ready to run? Hey, Larry, listen. If I did,
this is a big if.
A big if, Larry. So you could probably commit to it, not worry. But if I did show up to this race, would you have a car that I could just run?
Larry's got more cars than me, I think.
Larry's saying I could do a podcast from the track, which is true, Jason.
Mm-hmm. It'd be a write-off.
It'd be a write-off, exactly. Jason's saying, I think it would be more attractive if I also raced the modern classes too.
I have a dirt B6.3 he can have.
There you go, Jason. No excuses. Larry Tom is saying that could possibly happen. He can have a car ready for me to run. You can commit to it, Larry, because most likely I won't show up.
Yeah, so. It'll be a car sitting on the pit.
But they didn't think I was going to show up to the Vintage Nationals either.
or
And
your
guess who
last
showed up?
or
This
your
guy right here.
or your last vacation.
Or yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's oh man, my vacation. That's a whole nother story. Oh yeah,
Yes.
Larry's gonna get here's the car that Larry Tom is gonna have ready for me. A slash 2-wheel drive with lights. That would be epic. I would run it. And here goes Jason. I know this is me, guys. For all the listeners out there, Jason Santos at one time he had a B2 for me to race at pit stop last year, and I had nothing but excuses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I was afraid to show up and race.
He just had excuses.
I just had excuses. Like it's just so bad, man. Carrie gets on me all the time. She's like, it's amazing that you even have any friends.
Yeah, it really is.
I don't know what it is. What is the last race I went to?
The vintage town. No, you came out to the Mugen race. The
Where did I?
Mugen race, I think, at LCRC.
Yeah,
And then didn't you just stop out there once? It was like maybe one of their. You stopped out at LCRC. It was like one of their.
yeah. Jubert was there. I forget what race it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, that actually might have not been too long ago. I think it was right before COVID broke out, so somewhere around there,
I
or
mean,
maybe after.
yeah, it was after that.
Yeah, it was after.
Because
Okay.
when we did the Mugen race when you were there, that was like right in the middle of COVID.
Oh yeah, so yeah, not that bad then. See that?
Yeah.
It's not as bad as you thought. Yeah, my apologies, Jason, but I
He
think I
still
actually
got
had a
it ready
valid
for you.
excuse for what's that?
He still got it ready for you. It's just
He
it's sitting
did.
there in the pit.
I felt bad.
It's just sitting there ready.
To be fair, I was ready to go to the next race that they were having at pit stop, obvious, but Jason wasn't around because he had an excuse.
We see how this works now.
Right. Yeah. I love those ones where, you get invited to something and then they back out. It's perfect. Oh, great. Yeah. I'm so sad. I was going to come. Yeah. I got to work on that, though. I really do have to work on it,
It
Jason.
could be like a New Year's resolution. Baby steps.
Yeah. I should seriously work on it because
Just one commitment. That's all you got to have in 2023. You make one, you stick to it, and you're like, you know what? Resolution. I stuck to one.
yeah. I make these commitments and I'll do it, and then as approaches, I get all nervous and bent out of shape. Jason Santos is saying, I think I even asked Jason after you flaked on me if I built you an Ultima with a Trinity motor, if you'd be more willing to show up.
Like a Joel Johnson edition. Like he's putting all it out there. It's like everything's out there.
Yeah, yeah,
Every bait imaginable.
that would probably do it too. I'd be there. Commit to F1 in Vegas.
There you go.
What, they're racing F1 in Vegas? Like the actual cars?
The real cars.
Around Vegas?
Yeah, they have it. It's
Well,
like
yeah,
down
that's
the
like-
street, down the boulevard, Las Vegas Boulevard, around the back, and
Oh wow, I didn't even know they. Is it just for show or is it an actual race?
it's a real race.
So the F1 guys from like over in Europe come over here?
Yep.
God damn. How the hell did they do that?
I think they announced this. We were doing our race.
November 2023. That's quite a ways. Yeah, okay, I'll be there.
I mean, the second they announced that Spencer was looking for hotel rooms, but that stuff is going to be so nuts.
For the F1.
Oh yeah. That
Why would
place during that weekend is going to be a money making operation. Anywhere you go, they're just going to be ringing the till up.
Wow.
I mean, the money that's going to be there is going to be insane.
So, is there anywhere you can go online right now and look at the track that they plan on
Yeah,
laying
I
out
think
for
you
this?
can. Yeah,
It's going through the strip.
I think it goes. Yeah, they're going like. Um, there's a portion of the track that goes down the strip.
Wow. And I just saw recently that NASCAR is going to race in downtown Chicago. Is that right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Wow.
Paul was just telling me that I think the other day.
They're going to end up getting shot.
Well, the thing that's funny to me is they make all these special tracks and facilities for NASCAR, and they have these monster stadiums and tracks,
Yeah. Oh,
and
we
then
just
it's
raced on.
like and then you go to somewhere you run on the street.
Yeah. I was just going to say to you, like, so they can just race on a street.
Yep.
Yeah. Larry's saying that with the we can drive the Ferrari from Chandler.
There you go.
Oh, he has a Ferrari?
Maybe.
Damn, Larry, jeez. And we can pick up chicks on the way.
Well,
Oh, we don't. Did I just say that?
you did.
Jason Santos saying, the only two in the chat, by the way, probably the only two watching. Uh, bulletproof fire seats for the Chicago race at NASCAR. So there you go. Okay, that explains how they're going to pull that one off. And it's amazing to think that when we went out there for the Chicago Hobby Show, we used to just roam those streets at 2, 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I know I did.
I would go down to the Excalibur nightclub and then roam the streets and then take the train back.
Yep.
Right?
What I did.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about. But I didn't think about getting shot back then. I don't know if maybe it wasn't that bad. So now we got other people talking in chat. So we got Mark Baldwin's talking to you, Jason Santos. And Larry Tom was hoping for a J Concepts garage for the J Concepts garage.
We got to get Larry to come to Florida. That's a good idea, actually. Larry should come to that Florida Carpet Champs race, and then he could come by J Concepts, and we can talk vintage in the garage. That'd be a good idea.
Well, fly the man out there, Jason.
Come with Mayfield. Mayfield's going to come. Spencer's going to come.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Jason's going to be all over getting this vintage done at Pit Shop. That was a really cool place for the vintage cars.
Norm Swisher's saying, hi, Larry Dell Jr. No real names here, Norm. Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we have Jason's name up there. I forgot.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Oh, you know, that Ernie Pervetti gave me my nickname.
God, he sells something.
Gotti. When is that, Jason? When are you?
That is in November.
Mm-hmm.
You could travel with Spencer and Mayfield, most likely. It's showing here the 17th through the 20th of November. I think he would enjoy that. You could stay over there. Coco, you could come over. J Concepts one day, probably before. Maybe we'll get Spencer and Ryan to fly in early one day. Fly in one day early, come to the shop, do some vintage, do some chatting with the boys.
What are you guys saying? Do a show from the J-Concept garage?
No, I mean we could.
YouTube
We could. I
talking
mean,
about?
usually if Spencer or Ryan come, we try to do a video. But if we just want to chill, we can do that too. Just look at cars. Usually Ryan, when he's here, he's like, "What car is this?" I'm like, "Oh, you gave it to me." He's like, "Oh." He's like,
Still waiting for my Truggy, by the way, to put here in the studio.
"Yeah, I still got it."
Okay. As long as you still have it there. Maybe I'll fly down one day and pick it up.
There you go.
Mark Baldwin saying vintage at pit stop, J Concepts approved.
That's right. It is.
Larry Tom saying nerds.
Yeah,
Nerds getting together.
that's who we are. Bunch of nerds.
Which, by the way, you can go on to any podcasting app and you can look at all the shows that we put out. And Larry Tom was one of the episodes that we did.
Yeah, what are we on? 200 and what?
I don't know.
239?
Yeah.
239?
Who's counting?
I am.
Actually, I think that number's wrong, but we're just rolling with it.
Okay. Exactly.
So you can listen to the Larry Tom episode. You can also listen to the Ernie Pervetti interview that we did in 2013 with him. I have requests to repost that, but I guess I should because it's easier for people to find instead of scrolling down through. I should look into that. But yeah, you could just simply go on any app, scroll down. There it is. I put it up as a throwback episode, so
Okay.
there's that. And you can also watch the show live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay.
That was episode 239.
Oh, we're done.
Unless you got something else.
I'm pretty done.
Yeah. I did get some messages and stuff from a lot of you guys asking where we're at.
We're here.
We're here. That's all I can say.
We are here for you.
We're here. And I appreciate everybody reaching out to me when Ernie passed away. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's tough. What else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, like I said, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I got messages. People, how do we watch you live? So it should just pop right up, I guess. I think you have to go in your Facebook settings because people are not seeing it, and I think you have to go in there and just make sure you go to the Facebook page and put "see first," and get it in your. Oh, got a message from Kirby here. What's Kirby saying? Quick. Oh, it's an audio. Can't listen to that, and I can't read that. Also, okay.
Yeah.
Wait till you see that one, Jason.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Mark Baldwin, saying thank you guys. Always entertaining. Yeah. I guess we are. I don't know. Try to be. Hopefully the next episode won't be too far away. I got new stuff to set up, Jason, so I'm gonna.
I think I'm here next week.
Yeah, I would like to try out my new. I don't know. I got the new Rodecaster Pro 2 that I haven't even messed with yet. I'm still running off the old one. You guys in podcasting, Keen and all those, they know what this is about.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, this is the new one. And it's not even, I just cracked it open today, actually, too. I haven't taken off the seal yet here. See, it's still on there.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. I know Joey Zare is doing his podcast. Ran Out of Talent is his name of his podcast. And I saw on Facebook the other day, he's making a whole nice studio. He's building a new studio with his logo in the background. Looks really good.
Good.
So
for him.
I know he has questions about, or not questions, but I know he's asked me about the Rodecaster, and I mentioned to him that I got the Rodecaster 2. So, Joey, if you're looking for a Rodecaster 1 eventually, until I get to learn this, because this is a little bit more complicated than the first one. The first one I do like because I just turn it on and go. Yeah.
Plug and play.
So this one I got a lot of new things to learn about. Even though it looks the same here, the menu system, I guess inside, they're coming out with patches all the time and stuff to improve it. So I was waiting a little on some patches because I was reading some things that, Joe Zare jokingly said to me, when you finally can't figure it out, let me know. I'll buy it off you.
That's good.
So, but I'm excited to try this out. So hopefully next week, maybe we'll see what this does. And if it's a disaster, then we'll just have to switch back to the 1 maybe. until we figure this out. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. So, all right, everybody, head over to jconcepts.net. You know the drill. I don't think I need to tell you that. Have you seen a lot of upticks in your your web page?
Since we got a new website?
Yeah, the new, brand new, a little bit more mobile. Is that
Mobile friendly?
like you can get on there easier? Or am I not correct on that?
I honestly, I don't know what the traffic numbers are compared to before. I
So you
haven't.
launched that like when?
It's been several months now.
Yeah,
I would say
back in May,
maybe
right?
must have been. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
little while now.
So you made it a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more easier to navigate, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's and I think it's maybe a better shopping or a quicker and better shopping experience. I
Okay.
think there was I think we go through in just in life in general, but you go through different trends and you go through different looks that people are going for, or looks and function and where those meet. And I'm really about the looks of it, of
Mm-hmm.
all these things, but I think the importance is where the function is.
The simplicity.
Yeah, the simplicity and the function is what is the most important. Um, I'm really more about the looks, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as the bottom line, it really just needs to be easy and effective.
Yeah, I think we're all about the looks for the most part. If there's a lot of red flags there, we don't care. You know what I mean? Anyway.
So yeah, if you go on there now, it looks good, nice and updated. Rich keeping us up to date here with, we're coming out with a lot of new products all the time and trying to be versatile in the product line. And
I want you to link the podcast to it, though.
link the podcast to our website.
Well, like in the little corner, just put, oh, hey, by the way, Jason was on this episode. Just click on there or whatever,
I think that's a good thing that we have put that on our stories in our
Oh, yeah.
in Instagram posts, and I think that's a good place for it.
Yeah.
And I
Gets
think
a lot of good hits on the audio version. The audio version's where we see all the hits. So,
and that's something that Hannah works on, is in those areas. So she's done that before,
yeah.
and so I think just this week we put up. I was just on YouTube. It's like kind of going back to events we've had in the past several weeks, but looks like we put up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 10 new videos Hannah put up last week on YouTube, and then one video that I did at the with the Bigfoot car crush. That was the video I did the day before I went to Visions, and we got a video up on that. Rich got that edited. I tried. I needed a little better audio there, but it worked out okay.
Yeah.
The audio could have been a little better, but and events like this, you have a very narrow window to get the drivers or personnel to talk about the products, and it has to happen fast. Sometimes the audio isn't the greatest, but I just got to get a microphone set up for when I'm doing these by myself on the road, and I think it'd be a little better if Rich is there or Hannah's there. We usually have better audio because we have better microphones set up with their equipment, but
That's fine.
I bring up kind of a little easier camera setup. But yeah, we got a lot of new videos up on YouTube. We got a lot of new products dropping. So yeah, it's busy even in the summer.
I need this J Concepts license plate holder, by the way. I still didn't get that.
Get her done, man.
Yeah, I like the new site. So head on over there, order your stuff. Hi, and you do accept PayPal. Okay,
There you go.
awesome.
I think we're trying to work on taking Apple Pay too.
So you have Visa, PayPal, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express.
And I think somebody recently has used Apple Pay. So I think we got that going.
Oh, cool. Alex Sturgeon checking in saying Mini B YouTube thumbnail equals fabulous.
Yeah, it's a great shot of his car. And we wanted to make sure to show some Mini B racing. And we did. Him and his son, they were great in that class. Mini B champs.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, we're out of here, guys. I appreciate everybody joining us and everybody downloading and listening to the show. And if you like, here's Jake. And if not, that's your own fault.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.
Later.